Welcome to the Epic Gaming Night Podcast, a podcast about the stories and relationships board games create. I'm your host, Roy Candy, and with me today is Kent.
Hello.
Courtney.
Hi.
Ruthie.
Hi.
Matt.
Hello.
Adam.
Hola.
And Rob.
Hello, and buenos noches.
Gotta save the best for last always. Or the most handsome for last. I'm not
For
sure
my
how that
horse.
works.
No, I'm not going to speak Spanish tonight. Hey, everybody, how are we doing tonight?
We're trying to get different language demographics, so some of it's going to be Spanish, some of it's going to be English. So we'll hit 50% of the time, I think.
I'm going to go back to my high school German.
Oh,
yeah. All right.
Yeah, my name was Axel in class. It was great.
I'm just going to speak in game mechanic terms.
I don't see how that's any different than any other episode, Kent.
Yeah. However, though, it is its own language. So I totally get that.
It's under the Klingon subtitles in the anytime you're watching.
Oh, man.
Me and Ruthie talk a bunch, like each time about like the games and setting up stuff, or like, oh, we're gonna talk about this or this, and I ask her what game she wants to talk about and help, like, oh, we did this, but I'm always like trying to be like, oh, this is this mechanic and this is that mechanic, just because like the board game lingo is so strong in the community, like,
Yeah,
Yes.
there's a
like-
lot.
oh, what's this and oh, what's that? It's like, oh, what does that mean?
What is this
It's-
called?
I was like, you could just describe it like however you want, and then it'll make it easier for like new people to like jump in because you're not
Yeah.
using the crazy lingo.
Right.
Very true.
But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about news. We're going to talk about things we've been playing, and then we're also going to talk a little bit about tabletop games in media, which is going to be a very broad term. But yeah, all sorts of different things. But mostly, I mean, like mainstream media stuff, like movies and shows or actors playing games and things like that. But we'll get to that in a little bit. But I guess first, we're going to talk a little bit about some news articles. Ba-ba-ba-ba. And I threw all this news stuff in here. So let's see. The first one here, of course, if I'm throwing news things in, it has to be Marvel Champions, Next Evolution. Which I'm happy to learn that Kent likes Marvel Champions as well.
Yeah, Marvel Champions is great. So fun.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the fact that when they teased this, they had like these little shadow characters in front of a brick wall. And first they showed a brick wall. Then they showed a little shadow of Cable. And I'm
They
like,
teased it for like 2 weeks almost or something.
I
like
know,
that.
and there was like
Something crazy.
no Marvel Champions news at the time, and people are just like, well, that's obviously Cable. And they showed Domino. It's like, well, that's obviously Domino. I'm like, well, it's X-Force. There we go. And then Juggernaut came busting through the wall. I was like, well, that was given. But you do have a little Mr. Sinister in the corner, so we know Mr. Sinister is going to be there as well. Marvel Champions is a cooperative Marvel card game where you're different heroes. You have a deck with your hero in it, and you're working against different villains. It's my favorite game still. Like, I played it so much. I played it solo. I played it a lot with Ruthie. I've played it with Scotty a bunch. I played it a bunch at cons. It's one of my go-to games where people know I like it, so they always like hit me up to play
Come up to you.
at cons. But yeah, I've had a blast with it, and this will be fun to play as well. I love these campaign boxes. Did you say you have everything for this game, Kent?
I think we do, just about.
We have everything?
I think we might. Yeah. I think
Have
so.
you played everything?
Shocked.
We-
Courtney?
I'll give you one guess on if we've played everything. We have played a good bit of this game, but we definitely not played everything. There's so
You don't
much
have all
stuff.
the characters, right?
I think we have most of the characters, pretty much all of them. I believe so.
Courts, you don't have to put up the act. We all know you have everything.
believe we
Potentially
do.
twice over.
I have everything for the game. I've played with everything. I've played with every character, and I've played against every villain. I definitely have not played every character against every villain because that's basically impossible.
That's pretty,
That'd
that's
be
still
impressive.
impressive. That's still very impressive. That's a lot of stuff.
That
to
I've
get
played all of it. Yeah.
Personal goals are a thing. That you can.
Yeah, I used to do this little spreadsheet, but like a little cross thing. It's kind of like a spreadsheet, but where I had all the art for each character, and then I would have each villain, so that way you could check off when you played a character against a villain. And I was trying to keep up with it for a while, and I posted it online in the group for Marvel Champions, and people would be like, "Oh, no, I'm not just going to check it off. I'm going to have like a substandard for like, I'm going to have one for expert campaign and one's for cooperative." And then people would go even further where
that's
they'd
next
be like,
level.
each hero with each aspect. So it's like, okay, this one's going to be protection, and then that only counts as a fourth of play. Then I have to play it with justice with the same character. Then I have to play it with leadership with the same character. I'm like, you guys are too much.
That is crazy.
And I see some people's checklists where they just have like tons of checks on everything. I'm like, I made that thing, and like that gives me anxiety. Like how much you guys play
if
that
that's
game.
your only game you
Yeah,
play,
I feel like that's like their only game for
then that's
some people.
doable if that's what you play.
And the fact
It's like a
that
lifestyle game.
people play it
But that's
solo.
not even fun though. That's like mid-maxing. That's like
Nah, man. Look,
That's more like just saying it's more like getting your money's worth and feeling like
Feeling
you know.
accomplished.
I always talked
Yeah.
about doing something along those lines with Marvel Legendary, but it got way too far away from me to be able
That's
to
never
do
gonna
that.
happen.
it's
Yeah.
like achievements in video games. People love achievements.
Right.
They go
Yeah.
for these crazy achievements just because. you
Well,
know.
and I feel like, a lot of times people are wanting to find what works the best with what character, and that's really the only way to find out is of trying everything, right? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fun.
just play it.
I was
when
gonna say,
I
man.
get it, and I like the achievement example. It's just I
So
don't want
much.
to do that. Don't ask me to do that.
I really like the game a
Or
lot, but that's a
spreadsheets.
lot of the same game.
Yeah,
That's
I
a
want
lot.
to play the game, but I just want to go into it. Like if I get my butt kicked or something. Like when we played Marvel United, I think the first time at Kent Courtney's house that I played, like I just had a blast. I picked my character because it was a character that I wanted to play. I thought they were
Yeah.
a cool character, and I think we lost, but I still had fun. To break it
Did you
down,
did you fill out the check sheet though that Kent had with your character versus the villain?
No. but
How would you
after every
remember,
round,
you
though,
know?
He did go to BGG and update his profile and stuff
Plays.
like
I
that.
logged in. I think I put his role as the character he was. No,
Yeah.
I'm not.
There you go.
I don't think I did
usually
that.
don't go that
I
far.
don't go that far.
But one thing, getting back to Next Evolution, this expansion, they have we went so far off the rails. They have now side schemes that are specific to characters that a character will put in a side scheme, and if they're able to thwart it away, you get like a bonus, which is kind of funny because it's very similar to the new like Battlegrounds mechanic in Magic the Gathering, which just came out. I'm like, wow,
Oh.
these card games
don't-
have like similar mechanics to them, so it's kind of interesting.
How's that different than like your obligation scheme or whatever those cards are called? Is that
Nemesis.
The obligation
Or,
that comes out.
or whatever? You know
Well,
what
these
I
are
mean?
like
There's,
positive
sometimes-
things that you can choose to play. So you
Oh,
purposely
okay,
put a
okay.
scheme into
Yeah.
play that you can
I
thwart, and if you beat it in thwart, then you'll get bonuses. I think Cable has a lot to do with that or whatever.
Okay.
I think Domino has a bunch of stuff where she has like wild resource icons, and if she triggers it off the top of her deck or something like that, she does crazy stuff, which she has probability control as like her
Like
mutant
lucky.
power, so she's lucky, I guess.
Lucky. Mhm.
So
Yeah.
anyway, Marvel Champions. I love Marvel Champions. Next thing. Somebody else can talk about this more than I can. Probably Kent.
Okay, so Cascadia Landmarks. So this is an expansion for Cascadia, which was a fairly popular game. Still
It
fairly
won the
popular.
Spiel des Jahres, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Fairly popular, you know.
The expansion's coming out. It's supposed to be coming out sometime in the fall this year, 2023. It basically, it doesn't sound like it adds a whole lot extra to the game besides in Cascadia you have different animal scorecards.
Mhm.
They kind of change up how the tiles are placed and how you want to, organize your stuff to maximize points. So they're going to have more variety for those scoring cards, which are just good to have. Add those in there. And then it's going to give every player unique landmarks, which I'm not sure what that means exactly, but it's going to make your board, your little like land you're building up, a little bit different. It's going to change up kind of how you score for certain things and how you maybe organize your terrain. And I think there's also new tiles that kind of change up the variety of terrain on the tiles, which just I guess will just maybe vary how you can build your landscapes and how you can get large. In Cascadia, you're trying to get lots of the same land type together because really large areas of the same type are worth a lot of points. So I don't know if that's going to affect that in some way. But it sounds like it's just more of the same essentially with landmarks. So I feel like if you're a fan of Cascadia, it's definitely one to pick up or at least look out for.
I love this game.
I played
It's
Cascadia
fun,
once.
I think.
It's like drafting land tiles and putting animals on it.
I've
It's
never
really
used it.
it's easy and
Pretty
just kind of
simple.
relaxing
Cones.
almost.
I think I have no clue if you'd like it or not, Ruthie.
Oh,
I was just trying to think, like
It's very Tile A Deluxe.
it's
man.
very
Yeah.
abstract.
Yeah, it is. But there is theme in the animal cards, like somewhat. So you could be like, well, these bears, they live in a certain area and they have to have certain food source near them or whatever. Like you can kind of feel theme a little bit, but it's not. You really gotta really got to work for it. But I mean,
I like
that's
it. I
that's
think
really the extent of that. But it's just a really well designed game. It's just easy to play and almost relaxing to play, I think.
Rob, if you played this, I don't think you'd like it.
no.
But I'm
Kent and Courtney, like I'd play with you guys. I'd have fun. I'd be like, wow.
and then I
that
would
was
never
great.
play it again, right?
And then I'd be like, yeah, okay, so what are we playing next? Like,
I played this once and I was like, cool. I get that people like it. I did a whole nature list on the Dice Tower, and the whole time I'm like, nature, ugh.
Yeah.
And this game was like on everybody's list. I played it. It was also on my list, but also nature. It's
See, I'm
fine.
a little bit Kent and Courtney, and I'm a lot Ruthie, where it's just like I need
Kill
to
things.
destroy and kill people. And one of my love languages is I'm going to try to attack you. It doesn't mean that I don't
Exactly.
care about you. I'm just going to attack you. And when I see the fox
That's our
drinking
love
water,
language.
my thought is I want to be the bear behind the fox that just gets the fox and says, "That's my water, ho. Get off my water."
And the reason I don't know if Ruthie would like this or not is because she also likes things like Sagrada, where it's like drafting things and putting things in a certain order, which this is very much
so
like.
there's
you
some
know,
similarity,
so-
I'd say.
Yeah.
But there's
It
not
can be
number
very
picks.
satisfying in Sagrada
Right.
to like get the exact dice you need for the right,
Right.
thing, and it like feels so good to get that one thing in there. Same with Cascadia. You can kind of do that a little bit.
Like this is the game you have a
can give it
glass
a
of
shot.
wine, you play this game, and then you go to bed. This is the game you go to bed after you play. This is like your stories. You know, like you're an old person. I'm watching my stories, and
It
I'm just having a
fits
nice
for-
glass of red wine.
It's a, it's a family weight game. I mean,
Yeah,
so
it
if you
fit.
can play it with a lot of different people, it's pretty simple. So
Yeah.
There you go.
I wasn't going to say anything. Roy brought me into this. I was.
I wanted you to say stuff because I want the counterpoint to the
Cascadia
Spiritus Yaris.
Forest battles.
All the Spiritus
Bears
Yaris
versus
nominees are
foxes.
wrong.
That's
is what I was
right.
trying to.
Landmarks of the skulls, and
Nah.
that's my landmark. You have the
Get your
different
dice
skulls, and
buggy.
your character goes around and they pee on the certain trees. And if somebody else's character pees on your tree, then you got to fight over that tree and stuff like that. Like,
See,
that's
I'd
my
rather
idea.
play that game all day
That
long.
sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Flip
so you
the
don't have
tile
to like
over,
this
and all the
game.
foxes are dead, and they're being eaten
Yeah.
by the wolves.
Not every game's for every person. You don't have to like it. It's totally fine. It's got plenty
But
of
it's
fans
sold a
already.
whole bunch of copies, so it's good.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'd still play this happy version though with you, Kent and Courtney. I'll play.
The next game,
Thanks,
since
Rob.
we
That's
can get
love.
back to some theme, God's Grave is another game from Lucky Duck Games. This is a digital hybrid board game. It looks a little bit like their game Destinies-ish, like a lot of story going on. It's like an adventure style game. But yeah, I really like all the stuff that Lucky Duck's been putting out recently. And I love their app integration games. I think they're the best at like story app games. Like currently, a lot of their stuff
their
gives
app-
me
their apps are
Mansions of Madness feels to them as you're playing through the game, and the apps are just so well done. I'm really excited to try this game out, especially since it's like another fantasy storytelling game from them. So
And did you hear what it's about, what the theme is, and all that? That's kind of interesting.
what
It's,
is it?
So it's like the world had all these gods, and humans did not like what they were doing. They felt used, and they just killed all the gods, essentially. And now they're kind of on their own. They don't know what to do, and they're like, "Is this better? I guess maybe not." And then there's like these factions of these people who believe in all these other gods coming in, and there's I don't know what's going on, but it's crazy. Like they just murdered all their gods, and now they're kind of just seeing what happens.
I think
Gotcha.
isn't it is it a fantasy novel series too?
I don't know.
I think it's based on a series of like novels or maybe graphic novels. It's not.
It could
think
be.
it's-
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's from a
right.
new designer as well, so it'll be interesting to see how it all comes together. I can tell, like, from the picture here, that's not the same system as, like, Destinies or anything like that.
No.
It's slightly different, so it'll be interesting to see a different take, but their app stuff is always really good, and it'll be cool to see
Yeah.
how much story
And it's fully
stuff is in it.
co-op as far as I know, too.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
that's awesome.
Destiny's was not.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a Lucky Duck fan. I'm definitely willing to keep an eye on this and give it a look. I like Destinies a lot, and I like Chronicles of Crime a ton. So I don't know.
Yeah, honestly, Lucky Duck is one of my favorite publishers right now. Like, I just really like a lot of their stuff that they're coming out with. We really enjoyed Flamecraft. I love
Ooh, I like
Destinies.
Flamecraft.
I love Chronicles of Crime. You know, a lot of that stuff's really good. So excited to see more stuff coming out from them.
Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy.
Oh yeah, Yummy Yummy Monster Tummy is really awesome too.
That's a great kids game. Yeah.
Yeah. The next one here we were talking about before we even started a little bit. This is the Call of Duty board game. And normally you would think, oh, Call of Duty, IP, who cares? But this is from Arcane Wonders, who's done a bunch of really awesome games. So I'm excited to see how this all comes together with Call of Duty. I'm sure their campaign that they're going to run for this in the fall is going to be probably bananas.
Yeah.
I'm excited to
probably
see
huge.
Twitch streamers playing this. Like, do you guys feel like when it comes out, like all these guys who basically play Warzone for a living are gonna at least have to play it one night on their streams?
How are they
know.
gonna play
Maybe.
it? I mean, is co-op? Is it co-op?
I don't know. No, I think it's
Because
teams.
I mean, they
I think
play
it's a team game, maybe.
online. I mean, do they? I'm about to say something.
I don't know.
You have to get in the same room and do
You'd
it.
have to
you
get
know?
in the same room with other
Yeah.
people. Like it's
Maybe.
not a
Maybe.
video
Right.
game that you can play online.
I'm talking about like the Twitch millionaire guys. They can afford to get everyone into like some
Yeah,
event
yeah.
space.
It's probably one really rich guy who has a house that has 6 or 7 other people living there who are also trying to make it big and streaming.
Yeah,
They'll
there's
pull
like-
into the room together.
yeah. It's like
I have some buddies that I play Call of Duty with, where like if we're all bored, we'll shoot each other a text. And in fact, last night we didn't win a single match. I think in our first 3 games we killed 4 people. But we just get on there really just like to give each other a hard time and watch each other's kill cams and complain about our internet speed. Yeah,
That must be
probably
it.
Pick it up because they're local too. Like this is something we could try to play together. I don't know how much I'll like it as a game, but I'll probably just get it for like the nostalgia of like, hey, this is fun, and let's try Call of Duty, in person this time. So we'll see.
I do wonder if they're going to have a lag mechanic in the game, like, you know.
That would be
That would be
absolutely
great.
amazing.
That'd be hilarious.
You get a
Too meta
network
probably for
error.
them,
It's a card. You pull it out. Dever.
Well,
Or like-
Arcane Wonders is not the publisher I would think for publishing this game.
Exactly,
But
yeah.
I'm excited for that. That's
I
probably
kinda
the
wanna
most
play it.
interesting part for me.
I
If
know.
they do any expansions, though, I hope the expansion is twice the size of the game, just like all the downloads for Call of Duty and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a lot bigger than the game. So
I know Brian Pope, who was the head of Arcane Wonders, he did a lot of work on this as well, and he's the guy who made Mage Wars, which is a super well regarded game, you know. So it'll be interesting to see their take on Call of Duty. And I mean, if this was from some other publisher, like some other small publisher, or from like other people, I wouldn't be as excited for it. But Arcane Wonders has like a strong pedigree of games, so I'm really excited to see how this all comes together.
Yeah, it feels like it has to be a good mix for like something because it's Arcane Wonders. Like it's got to be a hobby game, but you would think that it would have a certain level of accessibility because of that IP. So I'm like in my head.
Yeah, I would hope so.
My headcanon is like based on nothing because there's like 3 paragraphs of description for this game and that's it right now. But my headcanon is like if it played like some like Nexus Ops or something where you can kind of just really pick it up and play it really quick, but the cards and some of the character types added variety, like that would be really cool. Not specifically that, but like something that's that weight. It could be fun. It would be neat if it was.
But these video game board games, I always come back to the fact, like, do I need a board game of a video game I can just go play the video game of and have more fun? That's the other thing I always think about, which
I don't have to
you know,
set
it's
it
hard
up
to
and take it down.
yeah, it's
Yeah, I
hard to
was gonna
say.
say-
It's hard to say, but
It just depends on how fun it is to get around the
Yeah,
table with people, you know.
exactly, yeah.
What has
But
the
yeah,
festive
but there's
setup?
so many good board games. It's like, is the IP enough to make me want to play this one over other board games, or just go play Call of Duty with my friends on, online?
Will there be little kids cursing at you in the game as well, or?
Again,
Yeah.
you guys want to go so meta on this.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you can have the Call of Duty experience without those things, though.
That's true.
yeah,
you know.
depending on your play group, that's a very real possibility.
Yeah,
If a
exactly.
13-year-old isn't making you uncomfortable, like is it really a game?
That's awesome. Well, the next one here it's a game we've already talked about, actually. Zombie Side White Death. But they added Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to this, so I wanted to get you guys' opinions and thoughts on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles
I
added
thought
to
we were
Zombie
getting-
Side White Death.
Wow.
I thought we weren't going to back this one.
But now,
Oh
But
no!
now,
dude, like the set looks really
He's
good. The
even got the
minis look
shirt on.
really good.
I had to wear the shirt.
Oh, there you go. Kent's
I
like,
had to wear
oh,
the
I'm
shirt
ready.
for
He's
this.
like, I'm ready.
Yeah, we were not going to back this at all, but the Turtles, it's the Turtles.
Reel this back in. And the
Yeah,
pizza.
I kind of feel you, Ken. I was like wavering, and Black Plague is like my one Zombicide that I have like a pretty huge set of, and I was like, maybe I'll wait because we had kind of talked about it in the last stream about like
Yeah.
at least for me the anxiety of having so much stuff when you kickstart that I'll just never play with it all.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I'll wait for this to hit retail, and I'll just get it at retail. So I told myself, and then I saw this, and I'm like, but if I do that, I'll probably never get my hands on the damn turtles, and I really
yeah.
want the turtles. And
How do you feel
now-
about the fact that it's like the turtles, but like turtles in time, like the Japanesey theme of turtles? It's
I
not
don't.
just
I don't like
standard
the turtles. Yeah, I don't. I
I'm
mean, I
fine.
loved that movie, like the old.
Was
old
that the
school
second?
movie.
I think
was
the
that the
second
second or
movie,
the third
maybe.
one?
It
I
was
don't
the
remember.
third
I
one.
love that
The
movie,
third
but
one.
I
Third,
I don't
okay.
like.
Yeah.
The
Second
I
one
don't
had
like
Vanilla Ice.
Crazy about the skull.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's not the movie's awful in all the best ways. It's an
Yes,
awful
yes.
version.
radical.
Yeah, it's not good. It makes me want them to make a Turtles theme game though. When I saw it, I was like, wait a second.
I know.
Right. I saw a bunch of people that are like, oh man, if they can get the IP, it would be awesome if they could just like, have just a straight turtle zombie side, except not
foot
actually
soldiers.
zombie side.
Well,
Man,
and you could bring the maturity level down a little, so it'd be a little more
Didn't
family.
somebody make a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game?
There
Yes,
are,
yes.
and they use a specific system where you like,
IDW made one, but then IDW's no longer around for board games.
right? Yeah, that is true. So, and that game actually isn't that bad. The other Turtles game, but it's quite a bit different than Zombicide. I think it's like one versus many, right? Yeah. So one person plays the bad guys and the other people play the turtles. So
Well, I'm back in this game, and I was back in this game from the beginning.
Yeah, baby.
And,
you're like, I'm not a turtle sellout.
No, yeah, I was already back in this game. I love the idea of the tower defense because that's really what this zombie side is. That's different than other zombie sides. And what's also cool about this zombie side is it utilizes extra NPCs more than previous zombie sides, where you can actually send warriors and stuff like that beyond the wall to try to wreck some of the zombies that are coming. And now that they also have another expansion for this, where you can get like a 3D printed wall.
Yeah, I
It
saw
probably
that.
costs them 30 cents to make, but they're selling for 35, and I'm also backing that as well. And,
I like
so
that.
yeah,
That
I'm really
first.
excited for this. And so I think it's going to be great. I like the idea of a tower defense game. I also like the medieval zombie side stuff. I like Black Plague more than I like just the regular zombie side.
Yeah, for sure.
So we'll see. I'm pretty pumped for it.
Yeah, I'm excited. And I mean,
It's already raised
Simon-
over $3 million too. I didn't
That's so
expect it to go
crazy.
to 3.
That's
But
pretty
it's already
good.
$3 million.
Simon doesn't
Zombie-
play around,
I think
and like
some of the zombie sides have one of them hit like at least 5 or 6, but I don't remember. Maybe it was first
then the
edition
last couple
or
of
second
Pokemon
edition. I mean.
stuff. Didn't it sort of not flop, but it did around like maybe around $1 million. Like I remember one of
it's
the
crazy to
campaigns-
think like, oh man, only $1 million. Only, that's so crazy.
I never thought this one would be over 3. And they're over 3. In fact, one of the stretch goals that they just released was Mulan. You can now you can go fighting with Mulan.
But what about
Wow.
Mushu? Do you get Mushu? Because if you don't have Mushu, then what's the point, really?
You might. I don't know who Mushu is.
He's
but,
a little dragon guy. Come on.
Come on, Rob.
Oh
With
no,
Eddie
no, oh yeah.
Murphy?
No,
Tiny
I don't
little
think
dragon.
Mushu's in there.
Maybe he's
There's
like
a
an
ton
item
of
card
stuff.
or something. That would be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is the Zombicide White Death stuff. I guess we can go ahead and get into games that we've been playing. We're gonna start out with Adam's games.
All right. I forgot what I had in what order. There it is.
Did
All
you steal
right.
somebody's pictures? No, I'm just kidding.
So, after talking to Kent and Courtney after the last stream, I went out and got the Great Split, like straight up.
That's awesome.
And we've been
That's
and
great.
we've been playing it. Like it is like a game that my wife is really enjoying, and we had this conversation, and this is kind of that abstract strategy. Get it to the table right before you go to bed, Rob. And it fits that mold. It plays really quick. It looks like it's going to be a lot crunchier than it is because there's like the board is full of all sorts of little tokens, and the tableau has, I don't know, a dozen cubes that you have to move. But man, it's very straightforward. It's very fun. It plays really fast. I think it plays faster than Splendor, I would say. like because it's simultaneous action, I had my whole family playing, and I think we played it much quicker than we played Splendor because no one's AP really kicked in. You kind of make the split, you send the split over, and then we're like, all right, everyone send them back.
It just doesn't
that's
stop,
great.
right?
Yeah, it just
I
keeps
should
going.
play this again.
I really enjoy it. Like for that kind of a weight game, that kind of it is. It's that Splendor, that Century, maybe Sagrada is another example. It's like or Azul. It's like that weight of a game, but it's just very unique because I don't think the I split you pick mechanic is seen as much as kind of like just engine building through cards or engine building through tile laying. So I think that it's got a freshness in that sense. Not that is a brand new mechanic. I have one major gripe with the game though. And I can't remember if Kent and Courtney brought this up or not. I think the envelopes should match the characters a little better so that when you pick one of the characters, you get an envelope. Because what I noticed is when I had everyone play for the first time, there was a lot of, oh crap, was that your envelope? Did I hand it back to you already? So we kind of had to slow down and be like, 1, 2, 3, pass.
The envelopes match the player boards, I believe. So each player board has that same, like, it's got some weird pattern, each of the envelopes.
Like the little Art Deco pattern.
Yeah. So you got to be really careful which player board you give it. I think it's the player board that matches, not the character. So you have to just match your player board with the envelope.
Yeah,
correct. I don't remember having that issue, but that's interesting.
I was playing with teens who are kind of like, they're like chucking the cards, and I was like, man, I felt like if the little face of the character was on there, it would just be dumb easy. That was probably my only gripe with it, but it's really elegant. It's a really elegant system, and I think if you're in the market for kind of that abstract strategy, you can play it in 30, maybe 40 minutes tops. Tops. Yeah. I think we even got a 25-minute game in at one point. It's super nice production value and
for going up to 7 players, that's
crazy. I played it at 4. Yeah. I would be interested in playing it at like really high player counts. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I would like to try 7, and it worked well.
Yeah,
I should do that at a con. That'd be fun.
There's no way it's going to take any longer unless somebody just refuses to make a decision. And it's not really an AP type of game. You're going to see the split. You might take 5 or 6 seconds, but you kind of know what you're prioritizing
that's why I love simultaneous actions, because literally you add more players and it doesn't increase the time length. That's crazy. So.
Yeah, it's really good. I'm super glad that we talked about it and I've got a chance to play it a little bit, and I'm enjoying it a lot. It's pretty. Looks pretty on the table.
Glad you liked it.
Your other game looks like Dragon the Game.
Dragon the Game. Yeah, I only took 2 pictures while I was playing this weekend. I played a bunch of Unmatched and Zombicide Black Plague this weekend, and I didn't have a picture of Unmatched. I was like, I didn't take a picture of it.
So you're prepping for backing the Turtles by playing Black Plague.
You're
like, do I need more of this game?
Yeah, I mean, I got together with a bunch of my friends from back home, and we played some 9 and 12 tile Black Plague, and it was just all night. I haven't done that in a long time.
That's a custom board if you're doing 9 and 12 tiles.
Yeah, well, I set it up. I had it set up. We played. I think it took us about 3.5 hours to play.
Did you run out of plastic minis to put on the board?
No, we didn't, because I had both siege weapons out there, so like we were just
you just wrecking the shop.
Oh yeah, both siege weapons. I had what do you call it? Had the Horde from Green Horde coming in all the time and just popping it off. It was a really good time, and I go back to, I think the reason that I love Zombicide and I think everyone should give it a shot is it is a huge epic game that a couple of my friends, they don't own it. They haven't played it in a couple of years, and it's like, hey, 10-minute explanation. We kind of get everyone warmed up. They're ready to go. They're playing for 3 hours. They're having a good time.
Yeah.
They're throwing dice. They're screaming.
It's mostly just dice chucking. Chuck.
The dragon card gets drawn, and they're like, oh, God, not the dragon again. It's destroying buildings, and I don't know. It's always a good time when you've got a group that's like really enthused to play it.
Last time we played with the Stranger Things kids.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a good time at Stoked on it, and I hadn't played it in a little bit, so
we need to play the Marvel Zombies version of it. Like, I want to play with all the crazy zombies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they haven't nobody's got the like full backing pledge of that stuff with the gigantic Galactus zombie or whatever it is. But
is that going to play like Like, is there like a scenario for that, like the giant Cthulhu scenario for?
Yeah, I think that's basically what it is. But it's kind of funny because the giant Galactus has two different versions. It has like the human Galactus where all the zombies are trying to fight the regular Galactus, or it has the zombie Galactus where all the like human heroes are trying to go up against the gigantic zombie Galactus. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I don't know what the scenarios look like because it's not actually out yet. So, but we'll see. But I think they sent everybody the base game, but they haven't sent everybody the like pledge yet. So
Yeah.
all right, next is Ruthie's game.
Ooh. So my game is we played the Gachapon
Yeah.
game. Roy was like, "Can you play this card game with me?" And I'm like, "Okay." And it's super cute. It's super cute. It's like you have to collect the set of cards, right? And on your turn you have like they're all laid out, and you have like 2 or 3 characters on the face of the card, but you don't know which one's underneath. So you have to start collecting them, and then once you have a set, you collect your Gachapons, right? And I thought it was really, really cute. Yeah.
But yeah, and the game
like
ends when you get like all the tokens. There's like special tokens.
Oh, that's right.
So when you do collections, you get like a ticket, like half of a ticket, and if you get enough of the right colors, then
Right.
you get the special thing, which will give you like extra turns or
was
like
cute.
give like wild tokens. It's kind of like it's simpler than even like Sushi Go or something like that. Like
Yeah, it
it's
was really-
ridiculously simple, but it's just a really
And the
cute
characters
set
are really
collection
cute.
game.
How many
know?
does it play?
I think it plays up to 6. So, but yeah, the only choices you have on your turn are either collect more Gachapon things or fulfill a set.
A set, right.
It's like the whole game.
Yeah, it was really cute. I really liked it. I'll play it again,
Yeah.
for sure.
Have you guys played Mantis before, which is like the Exploding Kittens game?
No. I think you talked about it before, but we haven't.
Oh,
played
have I talked about it? Yeah, it sounds a little bit like that, which is it's fun when you can play a set collection game with a lot of people, and it's like do this or that, and it just keeps moving around.
it. Right.
I picked up Mantis based on your recommendation, and it was fun.
The fun
It's
part
good
is like
For a big group.
thinking like I'm gonna get the card that I need, and then you pick it up and it's not something that you need. And I'm like,
It
Yep.
is.
and you get angry. I get angry. I'm like, it's not what I need.
It is funny to see your opponent like be like. It's kind of like when you put your quarter in there. It's like, oh, I need this to finish my set. Dang it!
Yeah.
You just
Sounds
like
like
put another quarter in.
Static in that way.
Dang it! Put
Right.
another quarter in.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh man,
That
I was
part-
actually surprised when I saw the picture of it. And I was looking it up on Board Game Geek. I was like, I'm surprised that is not a theme that was like more explored in board games, because it seems obvious for like set collection type of things to just be like, yeah, just this is a huge. Like Gachapon's a huge thing in Japan. I don't know why there's not more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I was just like, this is cute and it works. That is basically the game. And it's like set collection that's cute and it works.
Yep.
So
Hey.
good stuff. All right, Matt has birds.
Yeah, man,
Birds?
I've been playing Wingspan. Unfortunately, the game nights that I have for the past couple of weeks have been canceled due to some illnesses. I've just been playing Wingspan on my phone and or computer and or Steam Deck, just
Oh,
wherever
wow.
it exists. Sort.
How's the Steam Deck? This is now a Steam Deck review. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh yeah, man, I love mine. It's great. I play it a lot. Anytime I don't feel like coming in here to the game room to do something, I'm just sitting on the couch doing what I would be doing in here. It is a lazy PC gamer's dream. It's so good. It's so good. There's been a number of times that I'll like go to bed and I'll like lay in bed. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just get like one game in. Like I've been playing this game called like Fights in Tight Spaces, which is just like a roguelike deck builder where you're just punching people as a secret agent.
Oh, nice.
It's a total blast, but it's so good just to plop down and be able to play anything that your computer can.
How hard is it to play a game like Wingspan or whatever on that kind of device, you know? Because like it's kind of like a Switch basically, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
For Steam games.
Yeah, it's pretty much Wingspan it's not too hard, but I will say the Wingspan app is a little weird in how it controls. So you may need to get used to that, because instead of being able to see the full board all at one time, you're basically just popping between the forest, the plains, and the wetlands. But I mean, I think it controls great because the Wingspan has a pretty decent like controller integration, and it just works seamlessly with the Steam Deck. So,
have you ever tried to play Tabletop Simulator on the Steam Deck?
I haven't been so risky as to do that yet, because I don't even know if it's supported. They don't support.
Sounds like a nightmare.
I just want to see Last Light on the Steam Deck. It would be funny.
I'm gonna look it up now, because now I'm very curious.
But then you could have every board game, on your Steam Deck, basically. I know that they added Steam to some Teslas. That's like thinking about playing like Steam. Like I was like, oh man, it'd be really cool if I could play my game on my car.
Yeah.
But no, my car is not supported to actually. My computer in my car is not strong enough to run video games like that. It runs some video games, but not that video games. I can't play Elden Ring in my car, but some people can, but not me.
Well, I picked up a Steam Deck recently too when they had a sale, and all I do is play Elden Ring on that thing constantly.
Wait, did you guys get a Y or was it an X?
We got a Y.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't know if Y can do the Steam stuff either though, but
the Steam Deck works, so that's.
You can play your Steam Deck in your car.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that's cool though. But yeah, all the Wingspans, all the birds.
I just looked it up. Tabletop Simulator is not supported by Steam Deck. Womp womp.
Yeah,
it seems like it'd be really hard to play anyway, even if it was.
You got a game that's already finicky with keyboard mouse in front of you, and it's just like, all right, let's make this harder.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Awesome. Well, Kent is next.
All right, so we played some He-Man, the new CMON game that came out. The Kickstarter just delivered recently. And He-Man, I've been a fan of He-Man since back in the day. I watched the show some, but I mainly just loved the He-Man toys. So when I found out about this game, I was super excited about it. And it's basically a skirmish game essentially, where it's either one versus many or you can do co-op against an AI. And we did the co-op against the AI, and you can do the players just choose whatever team they can. The players can either be good guys or bad guys. It doesn't matter. And then the AI, or if you're playing one versus many, that player just picks the other side. So it's kind of cool how you can control either team. So we picked the heroes, and going up against the AI, they get 3 of the main heroes to choose from. And then you get to choose, each player can choose a hero, and then there's like this initiative system kind of where each player has a card that kind of gets placed in order, and then the bad guys place their cards in order, and you kind of resolve cards turn by turn. And then depending on where you are in initiative order, it's going to determine how much power you get at the start of your turn, which is going to be like what you use to do attacks or do all sorts of crazy abilities and skills. And it's kind of strategic in figuring out like who wants to activate first. So a lot of times you'll be talking to the other person saying like, oh, maybe I should go first, and then I should go again, and then you can go after that. And some of that is also based on like what you need to activate your skills. So everything you do is kind of using power. And you just basically run around and smash stuff, and you can do all sorts of just cool abilities. Everyone feels really powerful. The characters. I know Conan had the problem where Conan was always like super strong. Right. Everybody else wasn't so great. But in this game, I feel like everybody is pretty good. Everyone's got some really cool stuff going on. And it's just fun. The first scenario we played was one where you had to get just basically 5 kills. The first team to get 5 kills gained basically won the game. And then as the game goes on, you get new skills and things as the game. As you get kills, you upgrade your skills. So throughout a game, you unlock 3 new abilities, and they're double-sided cards. So you can kind of choose whatever card fits your situation better, or maybe what your objective is. And your objective is always going to just be different based on whatever scenario you do. The other game we did was one where we had to go find an item, and then we had to deliver it back to like the home or like our starting point.
Interesting.
Which was kind of neat. So we had to figure out where it was, and then the bad guys were trying to like stop us the whole time, and they were killing us like crazy that game. But it's a lot of fun, and the rules are not that hard as far as playing your character and doing attacks and all that stuff. But there are some problems with the AI rules. We had some major issues figuring out how we should handle certain situations with AI.
Oh, gotcha.
It seems like they didn't fully
Flesh out
go
the
into
game to be
rules for
played
that,
way.
yeah, or they didn't give you the proper stuff in the rulebook for it. So we had to make some house rules. I feel like I had to look on BGG for some stuff. I still don't know certain answers for certain situations, but we kind of were like, oh, thematically, I think this makes sense. We'll just play it this way. So I would like that to be fixed. I'd like them to like kind of say, oh, this is how this works for the AI.
Gotcha.
There's even a situation where like in the rule book it says the AI activates a certain number of cards on a thing on an activation, but like on the player aid it's like, oh, they activate 2 cards. In the rule book they say 1, so you don't really know what's what.
That's rough.
So I think if you played it 1 versus many, you wouldn't really have any of those issues. And even with the issues with the AI, we still had a lot of fun with it. And it's if you like He-Man and you like just kind of running around smashing people, rolling dice, it's pretty fun. But I think 1 versus many would be really good.
It seems like Conan, but better, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And it's got the same system where like if you spend your energy, or your power, you give it to the bad guy and they use it for their stuff. And then their stuff upgrades 2 as the game goes on. They always control 3 bad guys no matter what player count you're going against.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they've got some cool powers. They also have minions on the board, which they can activate and run around and do stuff and try to kill you. And
they have to spin the power to activate all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're going to activate.
I'd like to play this. Like, I just want to see the mechanics of it. It seems really cool.
It's pretty good. And like I said, the rules are not super heavy. There's some rules for terrain. The line of sight rules are pretty easy. It's fairly straightforward. I'd say like if you can handle like an Arcadia Quest or like a Massive Darkness, this is maybe a little bit easier than that. Except for the AI. Like I said, the AI is not the best, but otherwise it's pretty good. So I'd recommend it if you like Masters of the Universe.
Nice.
I think Rob needs to get this. If nothing else, you could have He-Man as an NPC in your D&D game, and that would be incredible.
That'd be hilarious.
He would become the ultimate evil. He would become the big bad evil guy.
You have the fake He-Man you could use as the evil He-Man.
Oh, nope. Yeah.
I would corrupt the real He-Man.
Nah, man, better yet, just have them randomly show up and just be like, we're on a quest to save Eternia. And it's just like, okay. And then they just go off, and then you'll just find them later, and they're like, we're
They
lost.
ride off on their battle cats.
We have no idea where we are.
How is that
There is a
not
battle
already
cat
Yeah, you can
an
do
RPG?
Battle Cat.
Like, is there a He-Man TTRPG? Because there should be.
I
don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
There's got to be like a fan
There's so
one
many
or something like that.
I'm sure
for
there's
sure.
a fan one, but I mean, like, doesn't that feel like something that like should be out? Did we just stumble on something that needs to happen?
Honestly, Thundercats is also another old IP. That
Do
could
them both.
use
Yeah.
TTRPG. Oh my gosh,
Across those universes.
that'd be nuts.
That would be
He-Man versus Thundercats.
awesome.
Thundercats, ho! I watched more Thundercats than I watched He-Man, but I remember my friends had all the He-Man toys and stuff. I just remember the giant green cats and stuff like that. So.
Yeah.
But I never watched the show really that much. But yeah, good stuff.
I never watched the show either or had any feelings towards the toys. And I still enjoyed the game more than I thought I was because I didn't have any kind of connection to the IP.
I
But I
clicked
thought it
on
was really
Rob's
well done.
slide and everything is on fire.
I
What
mean,
happened?
I clicked on your slide and everything is on fire in your slides. I'm
Oh.
trying to figure out what's going on here.
Looks like chaos.
Yes. Okay, so we are still continuing our adventure in the continent of Zuela, and after Sammy successfully decapitated the 7-year-old boy, they finally
Oh
home
my gosh.
and they
Trauma
finally made it back
returns.
home. And I totally did what you guys suggested.
Yes.
This sister, Thule, her name is Thule. She is joining the group, and she's just going to go around putting out missing posters for
their child.
for her brother.
There you
And
go.
what's going on is Sammy right now. She was told that if she wants to lift the curse, one of the mages in the town of Gordon, which that's what you see is part of blowing up. That's one of like the rich living quarters that was attacked. Sammy was told to lift the curse. She had to go confess to the parents what she did, and she has to do whatever they say, other than her dying, because she can't die right now because of the curse. And so the mom asked her to kill herself, but she can't. So she now has to kill the Orc King Goulash's son in front of the Orc King while he's still alive.
All right.
But he's about 11 foot tall. He's a huge giant orc, and they're now just level 3, so they're not ready for that. Sammy's character also cannot tell Thule what she did to her brother. Everybody else can. Everybody else can be like, "Dang, Sammy, you remember when you killed that boy?" And she's like, "Nope, I can't." She can't say because that's part of a.
Did you miss the
part
whole?
of the thing that the parents put on her.
Yeah,
Wait,
one of
Ruthie
Rob's
has no context.
But I'm like, what?
one of Rob's players.
I'm just going with it.
One of Rob's players decapitated a 7-year-old boy thinking it was a werewolf. It totally wasn't a werewolf, and she just killed like an innocent kid.
It was the one kid who wasn't a werewolf, and she just grabs him by the head, by his hair.
So confident.
He was sleeping, and just like, "I got you," and just cut his throat. And I was like, and I even showed the player right next to him. I said, "Here are my notes. This one kid, William, was not a werewolf, and that's who she decapitates." It was amazing.
So we spent like half the episode last time thinking of more terrible ways for him to terrorize Sammy about the terrible things she had done.
That's crazy.
Oh, everybody in our D&D group though was terrorizing her as well, and so we're having a lot of fun with it. So the group is now. I borrowed this amazing book from my amazing friend Matt, and it's not real D&D lore. It's like it could be, but
Yeah.
it has the idea of making a town or a city or someplace like your own, right?
Oh, that's cool.
And so one of the things that we're doing is, since Gordon was destroyed, they are now going to go around and make and earn money, and they left a couple people in charge of Gordon, and so they are now called the Council of the Dawn. They have named their group there the Council of the Dawn, so they basically run Gordon.
Do they do a lot of dishes or?
What?
Oh, not that kind of Dawn.
No, not that kind of Dawn. But yeah, they're going to go around and they're going to collect money, and they're trying to rebuild Gordon. And because of the continent and everything that I made, they'll be able to decide if they get big enough. Do they want to fight against the kingdom that they're currently in? Do they want to declare war against other kingdoms?
They're going to start charging taxes.
Yeah. In fact, that's one of the things that happens is they only had enough money. So when they were running around looking for survivors from the battle and stuff like that from before, while everything was on fire, they were also finding a bunch of money. And so they had enough money to rebuild 3 shops. And so they're rebuilding an inn, a keep, and a blacksmith. And each one of those shops, about every couple months, will generate 1,000 gold. And so they'll be able to upgrade into like 2nd level keeps, and there's more options. You'll be able to get more types of buildings. And like right now they can do like a mage and a temple training grounds, but then as you upgrade your keep and upgrade your castle, then you can go to a mage school and you can specify in certain things. So I've got a bunch of crazy ideas. We're pretty excited about that. And so they're about to leave to go try to level up and get some money to be able to cut off this guy's head, who they are not ready for. Yeah.
It sounds like you themed so hard you circled back around to Eurogame. So now it's all economic and gathering your money and building up your buildings.
Yeah. Well, see, I like real-time strategy games.
Yeah.
That's like grew up playing. And so it's like, okay, we'll have our combat and we'll have like you guys ever play Bannerlord or Mountain Blade Bannerlord 2 and stuff like that?
Yeah.
It's a game that I play on Steam and whatnot, but you can do these big battles with your first-person point of view, but then you also run a keep or a castle.
You get to build stuff
create
up.
your own nation. And so that's what this is. That's what I wanted to create this to be. So that way the game, if we wanted to play for like years, we could. Now, if we wanted to quit, we can quit. But if I'm building a foundation, so if we wanted to keep going, or if people wanted to bow out and we wanted to bring in other people, that character could create, have its own arc, and they could do their thing, and then more people can come into this world. And so I'm pretty excited. The group's having a lot of fun. We gave Sammy a really hard time, and a lot of fighting, a lot of goofing around. Sammy, though, she's going a little crazy because she can't die. She's just running head over heels into everything. And so I'm thinking about possibly wounding her so bad where she's only a head, and somebody just puts her head like on their belt or something, since she can't die, because then she won't be able to fulfill the curse of killing the Orc's king's son in front of the Orc king if she's just a head. So then she'll just forever be cursed. So we'll see if she keeps pressing buttons and keeps trying to do some stuff. She might end up being a head sooner than later. And so
she's gonna come back and listen to this podcast and hear all of your plans.
Is she, is she a shrunken head or a head in a jar?
You are pressing. I was thinking kind of like God of War 3, you know, or
like the Medusa
on the head, on the hip. And so I was thinking of something like that. But
I was wondering if you're gonna start like doing like fantasy houses for characters and start doing mortgages for the houses and like making people fill out the paperwork for the mortgages, and then it was circling back around to real life.
Yeah, and they back out right at the end.
Fantasy real estate. You can start selling properties inside your role playing game.
Well, we are sort of in a way doing that because, like, for example, the Keep, if they want to hire mercenaries, it costs money and food. And then if they want to train soldiers, they have to do stuff like that. And like they'll hire a blacksmith now at this time to repair equipment or to get new equipment. And then eventually they'll get an armorer and some other stuff. And then
gotta hire somebody to kill the Goblin King's son in front of him. Or she has to do it herself.
It has to be Sammy. It has to be done by Sammy. And then, because the parents wanted revenge, and they're like, well, since we can't kill you, and it's sort of his fault because he invaded Gordon, you've got to do this for her. But then the mom just jumped into the river. You can't really see the river in here. It's behind Kent and Courtney. And she was just laying there. And
let's see if
Sammy
I can
wanted
get the
to roll perspective to see if she was alive or not.
Is she laying in the river?
Well, I'll spoil this for you. No, she didn't kill herself. She just kind of like went in the river and just kind of like lazy rivered it, basically lazy boyed it, and just kind of like sat there. But since Sammy rolled so bad, I was like, all you see is just a body floating in the river. You have no idea. Yes, you can see. You see her right there. That's the mom. She just jumped in the water.
Nice.
And so, also at one point, and I want to apologize to Sammy. I did make her cry, like literally cry. I got super dark and depressing at one point with her about the character and stuff. And she started to tear up. And so her husband, while he was in the kitchen grabbing a cup of coffee and some Oreos, he was like, "Don't do it anymore." So we made it happy again. Yeah, we go pretty hard. We have a lot of fun. We're just goofy and silly. And so we played some more D&D.
There we go. Oh my goodness.
Silly little child murder.
Yes. Hey, you murder a child, you should cry a little bit. That's how I see it.
Tee. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine. All right, I guess I'll talk about my game, which Adam was excited to hear about. This is Marvel Age of Heroes. This is a worker placement game by the same designer as Lords of Waterdeep. And this actually gives me a little bit of Lords of Waterdeep vibe. You're all different Marvel heroes. You're basically different. I guess you can be like Wolverine and Jubilee, or like Gambit and Rogue, and different characters and stuff like that. And they have slightly different asymmetrical powers, but mostly this game is you're going out trying to collect the correct cubes to be able to battle off the different villains to get to the end game. It's very much a Marvel X-Men hero like Euro game in general, but it has a little interesting thematic stuff of like, hey, you can use Cerebro to put more heroes out, and then those are worker placement spots that you can put your characters on. And it gives you that Lord of Waterdeep thing of where if somebody uses your heroes that you've put out, you get like a little bonus resource. There's like combat and mental and then like willpower or something like that as your different resource types. And you can also put guys out on the I guess the X-Jet or whatever to use heroes there as well that go off to battle the different bad guys. Overall, like the regular mechanics of the game, I enjoyed. Like I went into this knowing that it was basically a Euro game. It was basically going to be like Lords of Waterdeep, where you're collecting cubes and sending them out to do missions and get you points by fighting bad guys. My problem with the game is the length, because you have to fight different stages of bad guys. And like you'll have like the Blob and Sabretooth out there. Then you have to kill one of them, and you'll kill one of them after like 3 rounds of the game, and then you put out another guy. It's like, oh, maybe now it's Omega Red or something like that. And you have to kill that guy, and that takes like another 3 rounds of the game. Then you have to go up against the boss, and that takes like another. Like the game just ends up being really long in general. And when we played, we filled up like all of the character spots where you could actually put characters out on the board. So we couldn't really put out more characters, and we still hadn't finished the game up. And it just ends up taking way longer than you think a game like this should take, I think. I feel like with a little bit more development and streamlining and like making the game more snappy, I would have had a blast with it, because I enjoyed the worker placement. I enjoyed the fact of sending X-Men characters out to go on these different missions to fight the bad guys was fun. You could get like different heroes that had icons that could help you fight off the bad guys easier. I like the fact that the different X-Men had like slightly different powers and stuff like that. Rogue is going around putting tokens all over the board, like making the spots juicier for people to go on. But when Gambit goes and takes those, he gets to play like extra cards and things like that. There's a lot of stuff that like gives you a little bit of theme, even though the theme is very loose. It's like a Euro game. But I gave this game like a 7 when I rated it on the Dice Tower. It's like, I would play it again, but I might actually house rule some stuff to just make the game shorter. Even though that's not the way the game is actually made, I would enjoy it more if it just ended quicker, which is not normally what you want when you're playing a game. But yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah, that's definitely something I've never heard somebody really say about a game.
What do you mean? That like...
Just like... normally when we play games, it's like, oh yeah, I just want to keep playing this, as opposed to just like, man, I wish this was like 2 turns shorter.
Right, yeah. I mean, I feel like if you are like, it's just the fact of like, it gets really repetitive after a while of like, okay, I'm going here, I'm going to these spaces, I'm collecting these cubes, I have the cubes, and now I'm going to go to this space and send them off to fight the bad guy. I spend those cubes, I get some points. Now I'm going to go collect some more cubes and then send them to this space and then go fight the bad guy again in a different spot. And it's fun when you're building up, you're seeing the heroes and you're putting the heroes out. And like now, oh, go to my space, go to my ice band here, because he gives you a bunch of combat cubes or whatever. And when you go there, I get a student worker, so I get another worker I can place out. That stuff's fun. But like the combos you can build up with that stuff. But then just the fact of like, once everything's kind of filled up, you're like, the game's still going, and I can't place out any more heroes. This is kind of annoying. You know, it feels like that sort of thing should have been caught in playtesting a little bit, you know. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do wonder how... Yeah, I mean, I know, I guess Kent says he's watched several reviewers and they said similar stuff, or...
kept hearing the thing about the heroes filling up, which felt sort of annoying, it sounded like.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that multiple people were having the same
that was
issue.
more, yeah, I think that was one of the bigger things. Are the people that you put out there kind of like the buildings Lord's Waterdeep?
Exactly. Yeah, they're basically exactly like that.
Yeah,
They give you new worker placement spots, and then when somebody goes to yours, you get a bonus.
Yeah, so I'm not certain. It's been so long since I played Lords of Waterdeep, but couldn't you just keep building those outside the, like, you could keep building those, or was there a limit on those also? I can't remember.
There was a limit on them.
There was, okay.
But also it was very limited how many you could build in a game. Like the game would end because it was based off of a certain number of rounds.
Yeah.
This game isn't based off a certain number of rounds. This game is based off of, do you kill the final boss? And if people aren't focusing on killing the final boss,
It's gonna keep going.
then the game just keeps going.
That sounds like a thing Terraform Mars does too. Like that kind of thing where the game doesn't have a set trigger, and like people will just be like, oh, I'm just gonna keep playing and playing and playing and playing and playing until it's like they need to wait to force the end game or something.
Right. Another thing that's interesting about this game is if you're not winning, then there's no real like reason to go specifically against the main boss, because you can see the score, you can see that you're not winning. So why would you, if you force the game to end, you know for a fact you're going to lose. So
you can kind of delay the inevitable or troll it, or
you can delay the inevitable or try to figure out a way to get points other ways, which is fine. but then it's just making the game that much longer, you know, and as the person who's winning the game, you're going to be like rushing to try to make the game over faster so that way you can actually win, but you're not getting help from the other players, you know. It also feels strange being like, oh, we're all X-Men and we're all fighting this boss and we're supposed to fight the final boss, but I'm not fighting the final boss because I'm losing currently, you know. So it's kind of interesting, but it's because the points aren't hidden at all, you know. In some games, like, you're not exactly sure who's winning, and like with Lords of Waterdeep, there's those hidden objectives, so it's like you can think that you're doing well, but then it might be like, oh, but I completed a whole bunch of piety quests, so I get a bunch of extra points. There's not really anything like that in Marvel Age of Heroes. It's like, nope, I did this, and you know exactly how many points I have, and you know that I'm winning. You know, there's no like secret points to make someone maybe in the game and hope they had enough secret points to win. You know, I don't know. It seems like it was almost there because I liked some of the stuff that was going on, but just those several different things just made it kind of like a little bit harder to do. But hey, I would play it and house rule it and be like, hey, look, I made it faster, and it doesn't seem like it would be that hard to do, you know?
Yeah.
I wonder if it's some
Cover,
things they
the
could
cover.
fix with like an expansion or something, you know?
I definitely think they
Like,
probably could,
yeah.
you know? So we'll see.
Or even
hopefully.
just like a modified version, like the designer could just come up with something slightly different, just a different rule set maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just sounds like as soon as you fill the board up with heroes, everybody gets one more turn, and if it's not over, the game ends.
You just base it off whatever score you have, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, having not played it, it just sounds like the way you're describing it sounds very similar enough to Waterdeep, where I'm just kind of questioning why there's not a round tracker. Like,
yeah. And there is a round tracker that changes up. Like, you go, oh, this round, and like it changes one aspect of like the board, so you know how many rounds you've done. But the game doesn't end until you beat the final boss. So it's like, oh wow, okay, strange. Yeah. Anyway, that is Age of Heroes. I was excited-ish about it, knowing that was a Euro game. I like thematic Euro games sometimes, you know, especially when it's a theme like X-Men. But for me, overall, it's fine. Courtney!
All right, so we played Chronicles of Avel or Avel. I'm not sure how you say it. It's Avel. And this is, I think, kind of marketed more towards kids. We played it with our 6-year-old and our 4-year-old, but our 4-year-old like played with one of us. Like he was on my team, right?
He needed help.
Yeah, he
definitely
needed help. He could not handle. He didn't have the attention span either. But it's a cooperative board game. I think the age on the box says 8+. But it's really neat. It's just kind of a boss battler kind of. You create the neat thing I thought in the beginning. You create a character. You make a name. They have these little sheets that the kids can color, which they liked, and you basically go around these tiles and you flip them over as you go and explore. And, you know, the tiles will have a monster, or the tiles will have like something where you can buy gear and to level up your character. And the way you fight the monsters, you roll dice. And when you defeat the monster, you get gold, either buy equipment or you get a treasure, or there's a way you can upgrade your current equipment to like make it better. So you either roll more dice or you can re-roll your dice. Those are some of the things you can upgrade your character to have. And then after so many rounds of doing this, like the big boss comes out onto the board. And at that point, every round they start moving closer to like the town which you're trying to protect. And so you have to defeat the boss and then any remaining monsters on the board before they can reach the town. And if they reach the town, you know, you lose. So it kind of starts off at like kind of you're trying to explore this little area, fighting off monsters, leveling up your character. And then at the end, it kind of turns into this kind of tower defense where you're trying to protect kind of the city and keep the monsters from getting into your city. Like you're trying to defeat them before they get to the city. So it was a lot of fun. I liked it. It kind of simplified a lot of those kind of bigger games, you know, like He-Man or, you know, all those, or Zombicide. Like it was a very simplified version of just rolling dice, killing monsters, and leveling up your character. So
that's cool.
I think the kids really liked it. I mean, it's pretty art and it's kind of simple.
It looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the character sheets were kind of neat. The
Yes.
kids had a super fun time with that, and the way you put the upgrade tiles on top of the characters, it looks like they're holding the sword, holding the shield, and wearing the
Oh, I
helmet.
love that sort of stuff. That's cool.
And there's like a backpack which is only a certain size, and so and it's like an inlaid player board. So like you can only hold as many items in your backpack as will fit in the board. So that was kind of a neat mechanism. So it's like, okay, how can I move these pieces around so they fit better, or it won't fit, so I have to give something up. So it's kind of thematic in that way. You can only hold so many things, but it's a cooperative. So like you could, if you knew you were gonna be running out of room soon, you could go like trade with another character and give them something they didn't have. So.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But I would definitely recommend it if you have younger kids or.
So what
people like
age
that.
would you say do you think works best with?
I mean, like our 6-year-old, he was able to play it he was able to take his turns. He didn't really need that much help,
wow,
but
that's
I don't
awesome.
know that he would be able to play it by himself. Maybe if we played it with him a few times, he could play it by himself. But I mean, I think since cooperative, it's easier to play with younger ones. But like I said, I think the recommended age was 8. But yeah, I think 6 or 7 may be able to play with an adult.
It was still
me,
fun.
me and
even
Matt
as an
could play
adult.
this, is what you're saying.
Oh, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
It was still enjoyable. As an
Yeah, I
adult.
mean, I still had fun even playing it as an adult. So
I love
it's
that
just
you do
rolling
like
dice.
I love that you do the drawing and then it goes like inside the board, right?
yeah,
That's
there's a
kinda
picture
cool.
of the
Yeah,
backpack.
the-
and stuff.
That is amazing.
The player boards are so cool.
Yeah.
They're so neat
That's
looking.
cute.
So
It reminds me of the Goblin Quest character sheet, if anyone's ever seen that.
oh no.
Oh, one day I'll introduce y'all to that one. It's a one-shot TTRPG where the character sheet is goblins and you color them in to play it, and they
Oh, wow.
mostly die. Everyone.
Oh
plays
yeah, I think
goblin.
I remember you talking about that one in the past. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
God.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's like super cute. It's actually like kind of scalable to little kids. So this just reminded me a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
This is great.
Roy, what's
Can-
that card game that we played that was basically a similar theme where everybody's playing a goblin and you're
Oh,
just trying
falling.
Yes. I need
Yeah.
to put that on a list somewhere.
There's so many games that like I had that we would play all the time and have a blast with, but then like outside of our game group, I've never had any success with. Like it's just so funny. It's like it's such a chaotic game. Like
Yeah,
our group
yeah.
was unique in the fact of like, oh man, I could bring these crazy silly games and we would have a lot of fun with it. But then like I take that to like a con and people are like, what?
we doing this.
I'll pass. I'll be like, man, falling is such a fun game. It's so silly. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the idea of being able to draw your characters. And Kent's art on these are great. So it's really
those are our
know.
sons. They colored those.
Yeah, he cut. Yeah.
We were like,
really
just
cute.
go color this while Daddy sets it up. It's like,
That's
Yeah.
cute.
That's
Exactly.
awesome.
Oh man.
But yeah, I guess we can get into our topic, which is tabletop games in media. I need to actually make this smaller because it's actually too big. But yeah, so basically my idea on this is like, so sometimes you'll watch a movie that's themed around a tabletop game, or things like Stranger Things where they have D&D in Stranger Things. Like, what do we think about different movies or shows and the effect that those shows have had on the industry as a whole? Like, it's kind of interesting to see things. And I mean, we recently had the D&D movie as well, who's brought stuff out. And there's been several board game movies that have been worse or better. I mean, there's the Clue movie from way back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's probably one of the best examples of
Bro,
board
that's
game
one of
movies,
the
to be
best.
honest.
That movie is absolutely
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, much
Yeah,
better
when-
than the more recent Battleship, I think.
Did anybody actually watch Battleship?
You
Yes,
didn't like
I thought it was
Battleship?
fun.
I've
You're
heard no one ever
hold on.
say anything
You're
good about it.
watching a movie about a plastic piece of a game where you're like B7, nope, or A11 hit. Like it's like the Transformers movies. You're not going to watch that movie for plot or character depth. You're going to watch for special effects and just crazy robot fights. That's what I expected with Battleship. I was like, okay, they made it about aliens, but the special effects looks cool and things are gonna blow up. I'll watch this.
So you watched it? Do they call out like the numbers and letters at any point during the movie?
In a weird way, yes.
I mean, I'm not going to watch it ever.
great.
Please spoil it for me.
No, in the movie, so they have this other ship that's with them, or this other crew from, because their ship got sank by the alien guys, but this I think it was China. They have these underwater sonar stations, and so he's like, hey, we have all these different coordinates. You have like the A quadrant and the B, and through all these different letters, and I think they're on the A12 quadrant type of a thing, and so. You know, it was definitely a quick call out to what they were doing.
Is this the movie with Rihanna in it? Is Rihanna in this movie?
Rihanna's in it, yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Rihanna's in it.
Yeah. And then they bring back one of the battleships from like World War II, and they had like enough people in Hawaii that were still alive that actually manned that ship, and they're like, all right, let's get her done. It's like so cheesy, it's so corny. It was fun. Like, I went in with zero expectations. I just wanted to just have a good time. I tell you what, if you can't fall asleep and you just want something to just like get hyped about for no reason whatsoever, please don't judge my movie taste.
I've already
I'm
judged
saying
you.
it's a fun movie.
I would love to see the pitch meeting on that one.
I thought the special effects and everything were really cool.
I was just really disappointed in the Battleship tie-in where you had The Rock as a playable character that you could put in a board game. I was so sad that didn't ever come out.
Oh God.
It was
I feel like the most successful board game in movies has to be chess, right? Like because there's like all these actual storied chess players that get movies, and there's Bobby Fischer and
Probably so, yeah.
Queen's Gambit is like
Oh,
a ridiculously good series.
yeah.
Yeah, that thing is
But I think we also,
very popular.
I don't know if you guys remember this, Dead of Winter, when it was on that episode of South Park. Because we had, I think we had Isaac on the show shortly after that, shortly before, and then Colby talked about it. And then it was also on that Will Wheaton show, the
Tabletop.
Tabletop. But when it was on South Park, they were talking about how their sales just, all of a sudden it was just like hundreds of thousands of sales. Where usually a good board game, you're platinum at like 50,000+, and all of a sudden it ends up. There was a couple of games that was on the South Park episode.
They've had an episode where the Board Girls episode, they just have tons of different board game references, and it's about like girls playing board games and things like that, and having a board game group, and they do so many shout outs to so many games. I mean, they even shout out like Watch It Played and the Dice Tower and stuff like that. It's crazy because Trey Parker is pretty big into it. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, when I asked Roy what the topic was, and he's like, oh, games on movies or TV shows, I was like Onward. Like, have you guys seen Onward?
Yeah.
Yes. I was like, Barley has his campaign set up on the table and everything. Like, the whole movie is, Roy told me afterwards. He's like, it's like D&D. And I'm like, oh, because I've never played D&D. But
Onward
I
makes me
understood
cry
some of the
so
references now.
Yeah.
Yes. So, like, I heard
Most
Roy
Pixar
talking
movies
about...
do. Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah.
Onward, if you watch that with a dry eye, you are a monster.
That's one of my favorite Disney movies.
Oh, Solidarity Girl. Me too. I love that one so
Just the
much.
message was, I love it.
And so many of the references are very much D&D references, right?
I heard Roy say gelatinous cube, and I was like, I know what that is, but it's because of Onward. I was like, I know what that is. Or the Manticore and stuff like that. It's cool.
And then even like some of the stuff that's like, magic spells and things like that feel very D&D-ish.
Yep.
Did anybody ever watch the old Clue movie? I made Kent watch that a few weeks ago because he had never seen it before. I loved that movie growing up.
Foggy.
Yeah.
It had like all the different endings, right? Like with each character.
It had an ending for every character killing somebody.
No,
There's three.
There was like three different endings. Yeah.
No. There's one with all the main. It doesn't have the maid, and I think the butler's maybe the last one, but if you watch like through the credits and stuff, it has like 4 or 5. It's got Mustard, then the lady with the high pitched voice. I can't remember her name.
Mrs. Peacock or
Miss Scarlet.
Miss Scarlet. That's
There's only 3.
Yeah.
Anyway, I haven't seen the movie in several years, but I absolutely love Clue. Absolutely love Clue.
Yeah, I remember it being really good, but I also haven't seen it in forever.
Yeah.
It's just one of those comedies. So
We watched it like within the last couple months probably.
Yeah, hadn't seen it before.
I think I think those are really very well done. I remember there was a big thing on Gone Girl when I don't know if you guys saw Gone Girl with Ben Affleck when it's like murder mystery thing, and Dominion was in Gone Girl because
Really?
when the wife sets him up, she sets up that shed with like all the stuff that he bought for himself after he apparently killed her, and like in one corner is like this stack of board games. And I
I
remember
feel like we watched the show and we saw
when
a
you
bunch
go,
of
it's
games.
a real quick scene. But when he's walking in the neighborhood, he goes all of a sudden into like this dirty garage or something like that, and he opens up this door. It's got drones. It's got like a crossbow. It's got like a bunch of like stupid man stuff, you know. In this one corner, you just see like a stack of board games, and so. I remember, I remember. In fact, Will Wheaton, they were even talking about on his show back when he did it. But I love it. I love it when board games can get into media. You know, because I think a lot of people have a stigmatism about board games, where it's like, you know, like I can maybe do Life or I can maybe do Monopoly or something, but man, when you guys talk about that hardcore stuff, like when I've told people about this weekend with Cabin Con, they're like, I don't know if I could play a weekend of games. And I'm like, bro, I could go a month with just playing games straight and be fine with myself. I was happy, content. But they get this idea that it's so much more. And some of the games are pretty crazy, and that's why we invited Kent. But for a lot of times, though, it's this great relax. And when you see it in media, when you see it on the TV shows and you see it on things that you're already comfortable with, like even on Parks and Rec, you know, Cones of Dunshire.
Right.
type
Yeah.
of a thing,
Oh, baby.
when they're talking about the game.
They try to make
How
you
many
look
people wear those-
unhinged.
Yeah, how many people wear those Cones shirts now and stuff like
Yeah.
that? And they even made a few copies of the game. Like, it only grows our community even more so. And so I think it's a beautiful thing if done properly. And so far, I haven't seen a game used so much in a negative light.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting when it's on like Big Bang Theory or whatever, and they're kind of making fun of D&D and like being like tongue in cheek and stuff. It's kind of like, oh, okay, it's like, oh, it's the nerds thing. But then when you see it in something like Stranger Things or whatever, and like all the kids are playing it, and like almost the entire like background plot is like they're naming all the villains, all D&D character names and stuff
I
like
dare
that.
you to go to a public high school and not find a kid with a Hellfire Club shirt on.
They are
I
still
know
the nerds, though.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. When I went to right after Stranger Things came out, I went to Hollywood Horror Nights at Universal, and I was wearing the Hellfire Club T-shirt, and there were several other people wearing it. And I'd be like, "Oh man, I want to be part of my D&D group," and they're like, "You're what?" I'm like, "You're wearing a Hellfire shirt." Like, what the crap? That's like the entire plot of the thing is trying to find people to join your D&D campaign. You know, but yeah, it's pretty interesting and pretty fun to see like how much just it being more commonplace is like brought people into the hobby and made people feel more comfortable with being like, oh, well, they're playing D&D on the show. It doesn't look that bad. You know, maybe I'll try it out, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, with Big Bang Theory, they had like, I think it was one of the second or last season where they had like William Shatner, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they had Will Wheaton and Joe, I never know how to
Joe
say his name.
Manganiello?
Manganiello, that all were playing D&D and stuff. It was like one of the
Oh, that's
episodes.
right,
It was
yeah.
pretty funny.
Yeah, Joe Manganiello has been like a really good, like a big guy with giant muscles, like making D&D like seem accessible to people who would otherwise watch
I
crap
love that
that
so
he's in.
much.
Well, and then that's the other thing is he'll be like, yeah, man. So I was like playing a game with like Trent Reznor and all this stuff, and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, he has like this. There's like an insane cast of people that apparently are playing at his house. But
The first time I ever played Marvel Champions, I technically played it with Trey Parker from South Park, and he hated the game. Like, he doesn't like collectible card games or card games in general. He's more into like regular, more thematic stuff. But it was funny to be like, oh, but the first time I played that game was technically with the creator of South Park. It was kind of funny because he was at Gen Con that year. That's kind of cool.
That's
That's
awesome.
cool.
And he came in and did a top 10 with us, so that was fun too. It was weird to like meet somebody like that, and then he was asking me about like, oh yeah, you used to do reviews with your kids. How are they doing? And I'm like, Trey Parker from South Park knows I have kids. That was just mind blowing to me.
That's mind blowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the cool breeze in the shadow of Roy Kennedy right there.
Yeah,
I guess so.
because then you can
Remember,
be like the
doesn't
other
Ben
guys.
Wyatt? They
You can
do
be like the other
Katana.
guys, and those famous people think you're Roy, and you have a whole conversation with them, and they're like, "Oh yeah, man, we'll come on out." And then once they realize you're not Roy, all of a sudden all those invitations get canceled and rescinded. So
Yeah, they're like,
so happy for you, Roy. That
you're who?
I'm sorry. I can't help it.
That's okay. At least you're more recognizable to me. I'll have a whole conversation with a developer, and they'll be like, "Yeah," and I'll be like, "Oh, this guy has no idea who I am. I'm just another face, and that's okay."
I look like I ate Roy.
Wait, what? That's messed up.
So anyway,
I used to, for the longest time, when we were doing the podcast and we were making fun of all that stuff, people would come up to me and call me Rob on purpose all the time. I remember those days. That was fun.
I told Roy I had someone at work who was standing on him, and I was like just biting my tongue because it was 2 weeks ago Tuesday night, and I was literally getting texts from Roy in my pocket while they were talking about him. I was like, this is weird. I don't know how to be like, I know that guy. He's okay. But she was talking about debating getting the game on GameStop when it was at that kind of the late pickup stage there 2 weeks ago. I hope she got it. I told her to get it, but it was definitely really weird.
That's cool. That's cool. Another thing is like when a bunch of celebrities play games, like it's funny how the board game community all flips out. Like when Kristen Stewart and what's his name?
No, not Kristen Bell.
Kristen Bell.
Oh, Dax Shepard. Yeah.
Dax Shepard. We're talking about how they play Settlers of Catan all the time and things like that. People be like, "Oh my goodness!" Or when the Green Bay Packers were talking about, "Oh, we play Settlers of Catan in the thing before warm-ups or whatever."
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny how it's interesting how all sorts of different people play board games, but you don't necessarily know, you know.
Yeah, who it is. Catan's got such weird nerd street cred. Like it's like a I don't even know how to describe it.
it's marijuana,
It's marijuana. Yeah, and the rest of us are on crystal meth like real men.
right? Yeah, no. But Catan is like you play Monopoly and stuff. Like, oh yeah, I've had a Newport. I've had a Newport. I've smoked a couple Marlboro. All of a sudden, you play Catan, and people are like, "Oh man, you play Catan? Oh, you got Catan? You have any more Catan?"
This is why we're trying to move away from the term gateway game.
Man, I love Catan. Man. Man,
Rob's
that's
doubling
some-
down on the term gateway game, Ken, I guess.
I
Rob's
get
like, wait a minute.
people tell me they're excited that they've played Catan, which I love now. Back in the day, I was like, okay, whatever, Catan. But now I love it because that shows me that they're willing to try something that looks weird, and they're willing to try something that doesn't look like the board game that they thought a board game should be like.
Right.
Because a lot of people, if you're not in it, you think of like the Monopolies or the Saris or those other games. You don't think of the Catans, this hexagonal thing, and I got to collect weed in the mountains and all this stuff. Like they don't think about that stuff. So now when people say that, it gets me really excited. But then when I'm like, oh man, you play Catan. Well, let me introduce you to this thing over here. I got some good stuff. Have you played this expansion of Catan? Or you got this, bro? I'll take you down the path. And so, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, Catan is marijuana. That's what it is.
I think part of it is it's very accessible from a retail standpoint.
Just like
but when you're in the right, very true. But when you're in the store, it sort of looks like the most kind of like maybe intellectual. It's like the European looking Euro game that's at Target and Walmart and Meijer, like all those things, right? So people are like, I'm gonna grab this, and if they like it, it's kind of their first one without having to kind of go anywhere other than where they're going to get their avocados and almond milk.
And that's a great point too, because it's a game that looks like a next level game, but also doesn't look very threatening. Because the box of Catan is just it's red and it shows two people walking into like a sunset, something like that, like a farm in the background. But for other people, it's like, wow, like this is next level. This is that thing. So
it's crazy how influential Catan has been. Speaking of which, Cloyce Torberg, the designer of Catan, recently passed away. And I was editing literally today a video that Tom's done on the legacy of him and the amount of different versions of Catan and the amount of stuff he's put out for that game. Not to mention all the other games. he won the Spiel des Jahres 4 times, and Catan was the 4th game that won the Spiel des Jahres for him.
Wow.
So it's like he's had like so much influence on the industry, and the fact that Catan has gotten so many people into playing games in general is just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely influenced the media in general. I know Catan was on Big Bang Theory and stuff like that as well, you know, in a bunch of different shows.
Yeah.
It's like commonplace when you talk about board games these days, even with people that don't know about board games. I'm like, oh, I know Catan, you know.
Yeah, it's on Parks and Rec. Ben Wyatt plays it at his bachelor party, right? Like it's not.
Yeah, he even brags about his ranking.
Yeah.
And he's got a hat made out for it, and it's got like some wood on it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's also, I feel like it's one of the perfect step up games from Monopoly, because you're used to rolling the dice in your turn. You're used to maybe doing some trading. Yeah, it's such a good like jumping off point from that, which most people are used to, at least some part of Monopoly.
Yeah, the thing I wanted to say too is just try to keep it on the theme a little bit, because it like seeing board games and definitely Dungeons and Dragons passively in media or as background in media, I think is really normalized some stuff. But I think the thing that this is maybe sort of cheating a little bit, but like streaming is also kind of like TV and media, and streaming, starting with Dungeons and Dragons streaming, and then even now moving more and more into people who sit and do play, like just do quiet plays or lo-fi music, board game plays on Twitch or on TikTok and stuff, is such a massive way for there to be additional accessibility to games that like you might not be able to play as often, or you haven't seen played and you want to know whether you like them. There's so much of that, and I would start that with things like, you know, like Critical Role and Acquisitions Incorporated, like these D&D streams that have been around for a really long time, kind of paving the way for that to be a form of passively enjoying a game when you're not actively playing it. And that's just grown and grown and grown exponentially. Like it's just everywhere now, to the point where, like, I mean, particularly with the bigger RPG streams, like those do better than successful TV shows.
That's
like,
crazy.
You know, so I mean, I know it's a little bit of an extension of what the conversation was supposed to be here, but I've met so many people who watch Critical Role and have never played Dungeons and Dragons. It's wild.
Wow.
And there's so many podcasts now that are just like, it's a podcast about their D&D campaign, or they just play D&D through their podcast, you know, and the whole thing is just the audio of what happens in those things. So it's kind of crazy.
I like to listen to like different actual plays and stuff, but there's just so many now, because it's like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna watch like a Critical Role and then Dimension 20, and then it's like, okay, well, we got Friends at the Table and we got Dungeons and Daddies, and it just keeps on going. And it's like, how many podcasts do I need? I can't consume all of this content. It's too much. But it's great to see that there's like that much of a desire and drive to actually have that out there.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I think it's definitely contributing positive. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's an audience for everything. I read some article about how like people sleeping on Twitch is becoming a huge thing.
Yep.
Like just watching.
Wow.
It's mostly watching really good-looking people sleep. Like, to be fair, like Rob might be able to
Rob
do this.
could do this.
Yeah, Rob could do it.
Rob, we've got a new industry for you.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, it's really cool. I know that like when I like in my TTRPG nerdum, and by the way, when Rob was finishing up his story, for anyone who's still listening, because I know it's getting late, if you're thinking about playing Dungeons and Dragons, don't think anymore. Just do it. Don't plan yourself into a hole. Just play the damn game. Even if you do it bad, it will be worth it. You will kill a 7-year-old and get away with it.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Is that the
What?
tagline? Is that the pitch? The new D&D pitch is...
I mean, look, they told you couldn't kill the kids in Skyrim, and that made a lot of people angry. So you just got to take it into the matters in your own hands.
Or join my D&D group. I'll let you do it if you roll well.
And then he'll curse you forever. And ever. And ever.
But
And
you
then you'll
can totally
go walk
use
into the
curse
lake.
to your advantage, though.
Oh, well, you know.
Yeah, you could.
Got to be creative. I was gonna say that there's also an anime called After School Dice Club. It's like a Japanese anime that's out in Japan, but like you can find it here and there. But literally, it's about these, I guess, high school girls who are like starting up their own like board game club, and they go to like game stores, and you see all the like it looks like a legitimate like board game store with all these different games you recognize in the background. And like in each episode, like halfway through the episode, they'll break down, the characters will start playing a board game, and then they start like introducing how to play the game, like cockroach poker or like all these different things.
wow.
And they're literally like, it feels like a Rodney Smith how to play in the middle of this anime.
Wow.
It's just like these like schoolgirls playing the game. It's just really crazy. Like it's a slice of lifestyle thing. Like one of the girls wants to become a designer, and she goes off to like Germany to like try to become. It's really crazy. But just the fact that like board games even have their own anime about them is kind of crazy. But yeah, it's like After School Dice Club, I think's the name of it. I'm not sure if there's like a Japanese name that's different than that. But yeah, I watched a few episodes of that, and I'm like, this is legitimately just about hobby board games.
One other thing I found interesting is there's a company called Cobalt Knight who's been recently purchasing the rights for different board games for either movies or TV. And I'm really curious to see if this is going to go anywhere. I don't know if this company's purchased Tricarion rights, which is a pretty heavy board game by Mind Clash. They got Anachrony, Terraforming Mars, Terra Mystica, and possibly Gaia Project, I believe. So I don't know if they're just buying these because the board game hobby is growing and they think these might be valuable, or if they're going to actually make shows or movies about these. Do you think do you all think that's going to be something that like you would even want to watch, or if that's going to bring in more people to the hobby? I just find it really kind of strange, but interesting too.
It is really strange because aren't most of those like heavy Euro games
they're all
for the most part?
Yeah, exactly. Now Anachrony I could see Anachrony working because like a time travel futuristic post-apocalyptic thing. There was somebody else who purchased the right for a Catan movie too, which was fairly recent. So I don't know exactly what to make of that, but that's definitely showing how board games are definitely reaching new audiences and new forms of media.
It feels harder to do that than even a video game movie or show, which has proven to be like 1 in 10 or even worth watching.
Yeah,
and those have more like translatable plot and translatable like words and characters. I think that I don't know. I mean,
I think that also kind of works against it though, because they have these connections to these characters or what this character looks like or how this character acts or what they do, and so maybe it'd be easier with the board game because there's none of that to go off of. They're just making it their own story in this new in this world or this setting. So if you have the good feelings towards the board game, you may want to just watch it and that like what happens unfolds in that world. Whereas with like a like the first one comes to mind, it's like Uncharted. Like people were complaining because Tom Holland doesn't really look like the main character of that game and stuff like. So it was just I think that one did fairly well, but people might not have the preconceived notions going into these types of games versus what they have with the video game type adaptations.
Huh.
I
would think they would get like the rights for like more of a story driven game, something like Gloomhaven or like Sleeping Gods or something like that. I would totally watch a Sleeping Gods movie like all day long.
Yes. That's why, I know I'm just very surprised by what they've selected.
Like I can kind of understand like like you were saying, like the Mind Clash games, like even Trictarian I can see as like that's a very head-to-head showman type of thing. And like I can kind of see Terraforming Mars, like the Green Mars trilogy, and it's like okay, I can, but like Terra Mystica, I'm sitting here going, huh?
Can we just call Emerson up and get the Spectre Ops movie going?
Dude, let's just have the whole I can't even remember what their extended universe name is, or if they own it anymore.
The Raxon universe.
I don't know if it's Raxon or not, but Raxon's in it.
Yeah.
See you.
Yeah, that would be a Plaid Hat thing. They're the ones who did all the story up for that. So
yeah, but you couldn't cross over right now into Dead of Winter because that Raxon stuff that's Fantasy Flight now, isn't it?
I think so.
I guess so. You're right. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's start differentiating by number of X's. It's like, is it Raxon with 1X or 2X?
Yeah, it'll be
3X.
It'll be like the Evil Dead movies, where like by the time they made the next one, like Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, Raimi he no longer was working with a publishing company that owned the rights to the previous footage. So every time they did a recap at the beginning of the next movie, they had to recast actors and reshoot the recap because they never used the old footage because they didn't own it. So he made a trilogy with no continuity in footage. By the time they made Army of Darkness, Bridget Fonda was playing the girlfriend from the 1979 movie. They're just like we can't afford to buy that, so we're just gonna reshoot the whole thing.
There you go.
Oh man.
I think it could work. I'd watch Catan. I would.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You make it like Dallas. You just make it like all about drama and somebody stealing your land, or like Yellowstone. It's Yellowstone meets Catan.
I think Rob wants Viticulture the movie, so it's just
Ooh, what about Concordia?
Ooh,
I'd watch that. I'd watch
Look,
that.
I mean, Concordia, at least to me, sounds better than Catan. But,
I mean, any of the hard games on Mars or the Gallerist.
let's do
Escape Plan.
what's the
It's
worst board game movie to you guys? Like, what's the worst possible?
Monopoly.
Yeah.
I think there might be a movie. It's probably a documentary.
yeah, it's a documentary.
Yeah, there's a documentary, right? I've seen it. Yeah.
There's some pretty terrible board games out there. You could go like Bag of Butts, or like Farting
yeah.
Frenchies. Like it gets pretty. There's games worse than Monopoly out there. Trust
What was
me.
that? What was that game with the tentacles that people were running around with a few years ago?
I will not talk about that.
I've got the footage. We could.
Yeah,
Go find-
Matt, video.
That feels like it might be the worst.
Yeah.
I think they already have movies or at least animes like that.
Right. I might be
But
jumping
did they
the gun.
have the tie-in? Though?
Yeah.
It's gotta have the brand name on it.
Yeah.
Rob, are you willing to do some voice
Okay.
acting?
The worst part about that is afterwards, he's like, "Hey man, you should come visit us up in Pennsylvania, man. You should come check out my work." I was like, "Bro, this is not that kind of relationship, man."
Are we telling this story, or are
Nope.
you just gonna leave the audience and
I'm gonna
read
sign
this
off.
Yep, go into the
specifically
archives.
The name of the game, for those people curious, is called Consenticle.
Yes,
And feel free to look it up and learn everything you want to learn about it.
But
It's
you're
a great
right,
game.
I
Probably.
had no idea. I had no idea. That's all I'm gonna say is I had no idea what I was getting myself into. That's it.
It was a blast.
Awesome, guys. Well, with that craziness, we should probably start to wrap this thing up.
Mentally,
Yeah, that's the out.
That's the outro. I don't know how we can go any higher than where we've gone already.
If you started playing the video.
Where's the video at? No, I'm just kidding. Send that in for next week. Come back next time to watch
Oh, yeah,
Rob.
that's the cliffhanger.
Anyway, thanks everybody for watching this episode. Make sure to subscribe and like and all of those things. But yeah, we definitely just do these for fun and just want to come together and talk about board games and get excited about the things we've been playing recently. Yes. So make sure to check us all out on our social medias and things like that, and hit us up and come back next week time for more tales of murder in Rob's D&D campaign.
oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Will the curse be lifted? Probably not.
No.
Will Sammy be a shrunken head on a belt? Yes.
Probably yes. Okay, guys. Well, thanks everybody for coming out.
Bye.
We'll see everybody next time.
Bye.
Bye.